Today, we're going to talk about the end of Biden's time in office and how to prepare for a Trump presidency. And I've got two interviews this week. I interviewed California Governor Gavin Newsom to discuss the LA wildfires and his response to Republicans like Trump and Mike Johnson threatening to condition disaster relief. And I'm joined by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to discuss how her blow-up went with the most attention-obsessed member of Congress, Nancy Mace. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. Trump is being sworn into office today, which means that we're closing the book on the Biden era as we move into the Trump era. But before we go full tilt into this next chapter, I think it's worth discussing Biden's legacy and what he and the Democratic majority were able to accomplish, offering something of a baseline for what the government should be doing for its voters as all eyes turn to a Republican majority. Now, in terms of legacy for Biden, it's mixed. And I say that because his whole reason for running, his avowed reason for running against Trump, is because he wanted to protect our democracy from an autocrat. And yet, looking ahead 4 years from when he made that pledge, it was largely a function of Biden's age that he was unable to prosecute the case against Trump and ultimately gave way to Trump retaking the White House. And look, in terms of whether the criticism against Biden is fair, on one hand, given the economic environment that we're in, where incumbents were ousted out of almost every government in the world, I'm not sure that any Democratic candidate could have won when people were looking to punish the party in charge. On the flip side, it also is clear by now that Biden should have dropped out before the June debate, at which point it was effectively assured that he would lose if he ran, and also gave basically no time for another Democratic candidate to stand up an entire campaign and win. But with all of that said, while the story of Biden's legacy, at least right now, focuses on Trump's ascent back into power, I do want to take a moment to consider what he was able to do as president with Democrats in charge. Democrats took the disastrous economy that Trump left, in which 3 million jobs were lost, the economy contracted 2.5%, and the unemployment rate rose to 6.3%, and they added 16 million jobs, brought the unemployment rate down to a 50-year low, brought the stock market to a record high, and oversaw the fastest economic recovery on earth. It was the Democrats who passed an infrastructure law, one of Trump's biggest failed promises. It was the Democrats who oversaw a jobs boom, one of Trump's biggest failed promises. It was the Democrats who oversaw a manufacturing renaissance, one of Trump's biggest failed promises. It was the Democrats who capped the cost of insulin and inhalers at $35, who capped out-of-pocket healthcare costs at $2,000, who were responsible for rural broadband, which will overwhelmingly benefit Republican areas. It was the Democrats who protected earned benefits like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, even as Republicans continue, to this day, to threaten to privatize these programs that you have spent your entire lives paying into. It was the Democrats who protected our veterans by passing the PACT Act, ensuring that they would have health care over the objections of Republicans who continue to beat their chests as some party of the military. It was the Democrats who ushered in billions and billions of dollars of investments from companies committed to the next generation of clean energy manufacturing, thanks to the CHIPS Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. The Democrats who passed the biggest climate protection law in history so that we would have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and a habitable planet to live on. The Democrats who got COVID under control and ushered in the strongest economic response on earth with the American Rescue Plan. The Democrats who passed the first gun safety law in 3 decades, who codified marriage equality into federal law, and on and on. So again, I understand that Biden will leave office with a legacy that was tarnished by the guy who will take the oath of office today, but that doesn't negate the wins that Biden and Democrats were able to notch. And the promise of being able to score more victories like this in the future is why we have to keep fighting. And look, I get it. We're all exhausted, and Donald Trump is just beginning his presidency now. I get the desire to check out. But the only way that we see results in the future on healthcare, on abortion rights, on climate, on guns, on raising the minimum wage, on protecting unions, and so much more is if we stay in this fight. So don't check out. Do not reward the people who want to take everything away by giving them exactly what they want. I'm going to keep fighting because this country is worth fighting for. It's not going to be easy, but we were never promised that it would be. But it'll be worth it. That much I can promise you. Next up are previews of my interviews with Gavin Newsom and Jasmine Crockett. But first, a quick reminder that in one video per week, the No Lie video podcast, just like with my No Lie audio podcast, which is this specific episode, there are sponsors. So here's a quick word from some sponsors, and then Gavin Newsom and Jasmine Crockett. No Lie is brought to you by Beam. So if you're a political junkie like I am, you're probably not resting right now as easy as you'd like. I know that by the time my head hits the pillow at night, my mind is going 100 miles an hour, which means it takes a long time to fall asleep, and I wake up feeling exhausted the next morning. That's why I'm so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend for sleep. I'll be honest, I'm very, very careful about what I put in my body, but I know all of the ingredients that are in this. Other sleep aids can cause next day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. And now that I'm getting better sleep, I have more energy, more focus, and I feel like I can actually make the most of my days instead of just getting to the end of them. And now, in 2025, it's a new year. I'm determined to keep this momentum going. The ultimate sleep refresh for the new year. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/BTC and use code BTC at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/BTC and use code BTC for up to 40% off. No Lie is sponsored by BetterHelp. So we're at the start of a new year, and the question here is, what do you want your 2025 to be? If you're anything like me, there are definitely changes that you want to make in your life, and those changes can be difficult, but you're not alone. There are therapists who are there to help. I am a huge, huge advocate for therapy. I know more people who do therapy than who don't, and I myself am one. And I love my friends, but it makes a huge difference to actually talk to people who are qualified to help. BetterHelp is fully online, meaning it's more convenient and more affordable, and serves 5 million people and counting. There's also a diverse network of 20,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties so that you'll find who you need. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/nolie to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/nolie. Can I have your reaction to Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, coming out in support of establishing the precedent of conditioning disaster relief, and him doing it from the state of Louisiana? Like, this guy, it's not like this guy is any stranger to what would happen if we start playing politics with disaster relief. So can I have your reaction to that?
I hope it looks in his heart, the pain and suffering of the American people, the trauma that everybody's experiencing in his country. He's the Speaker of the House of Representatives for the United States of America, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all, not some who may have a political point of view. By the way, I didn't ask anyone what their political affiliation was when we're down here working to try to protect people in the community from the ravages of these fires and these unprecedented winds. But you know what? Nor did we ever, never in California questioned whether or not we as taxpayers in the largest state in the union should support the people of Louisiana at a time of emergency and need. We never conditioned it. We never talked about putting the full faith and credit of the United States of America with the debt ceiling bill so we can get tax cuts for billionaires and corporations that don't need it, and then put at risk the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans that happen to live in California.
And this, by the way, is California as a donor state, as arguably the biggest donor state in the country.
Yeah, size of 21 state populations combined. A state with millions and millions of Trump supporters, Speaker Johnson. And Mr. President-elect, millions of your supporters are out here. They need your help, they need your empathy, they need your care, whatever compassion you can express, as opposed to condemnation and divisive language that has aided and embedded nothing except mis and disinformation that's flamed fear and flamed a lot of anxiety for folks that are simply trying to recover, and at the same time our first responders trying to address the emergency at hand, which still hasn't been fully buttoned up.
What's your reaction to being the latest target of Nancy Mace's, I guess what's now her weekly bit of manufactured outrage?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if people can't see the writing on the wall, it is clear that number one, she's an unserious lawmaker. And number two, that she will do anything for clicks and anything for money. That is what it's about. And the fact that I was calling her out because I was simply trying to present an amendment that would bring back the Civil Rights and Liberties Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee that historically has been a long-standing subcommittee of the Oversight Committee, but it's a subcommittee that would be committed to all of our civil rights, all of our freedoms. And the fact is, she decided to respond and start talking about, women being raped by trans folk. And I don't even know where she got that from, but I'm like, that's not even what we're talking about. And I made it clear that she has truly found out that if she talks about trans people, then people will donate to her. Right. And so I was calling that out. And then she decided she wanted to get an attitude and tried to threaten an actual fight. Now, when the rubber met the road, and basically we said that that's out of line and you can't threaten violence, then all of a sudden, oh, well, she could have meant that, she just wanted y'all to go outside and have coffee.
Yeah,
So
right.
we're
Go
not
outside
going
for a
to move.
smoke, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to move that that's a violation. Like, listen, I don't know who y'all think I am, and I know y'all try to play me for dumb because I'm black and or because I'm woman. But the reality is that I know what she meant by it, just like she know what she meant by it. But the reality is that she's nothing more than a coward because she truly believes, again, that this is an opportunity for her to raise money. So I'm sure the emails have already gone out. I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
she was sending a text message while we were sitting in committee and said, let's go ahead and raise money off of this. But her threatening violence, that is what gives license to the crazy MAGA followers, where she's doing it to get a few dollars. And the reality is that my staff has to listen to the death threats that real crazies follow behind her and give when I'm literally just trying to make sure that this country works for everybody and not just those that elected me.
To watch the full interviews with Gavin Newsom and Jasmine Crockett, click the thumbnails right here on the screen or check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. You can also click the link on the screen to listen to the audio version of this episode, and of course to see more of my content, the subscribe button's on the screen as well.